I'm Gordon Hamilton. I am a mathematician, and Math Pickle is my day job. I am funded by the American Institute of Mathematics to design puzzles for the K-12 curriculum. So it's a very creative way to spend my days. I can go to Starbucks, I can design puzzles and games all day. It's a joy of work. It doesn't pay well, but it's absolutely creatively awesome. Whenever I'm talking to parents, I tell them that their number one job is not to go home and do worksheets with their children. Their number one job is to adopt a board game. And that's because the core of mathematics is problem solving, and games are the most joyous excuse for problem solving. So there's no difference between Math Pickle and my board game design. They're totally interwoven. I actually design board games as well as puzzles for the math classroom. Whenever I was young, I played Isola with my father, but other than that, I had nobody to play with. So I ended up playing games against myself. I would construct games, and then I would meander around the table playing all parts of it. If there was hidden information, I played that realistically, as if I really did not understand what the other players had. Having a scarcity of people to play with, that is a marvelous way to get into board game design out of necessity. I've been a game designer my whole life, since about age 9. I started off with a game called Cosmic Encounters, redesigning the cards for Cosmic Encounters. This is the way that I encourage new game designers to get into the profession, and that's to take an existing game like Dominion, like Star Realms, and to redesign the cards, not to try to create your own game from scratch. So my most inspirational talk that I've ever had was with Reiner Knizia. He also has a PhD in mathematics, so it was actually for a mathematics publication that I was interviewing him. But I asked him, do you think that board game design should only be for the purposes of having fun? And his answer was yes. I totally respected that, but I disagreed with it. And so I've always in the back of my mind, I was thinking, can I come up with a game that supports some political thing that I really believe in? So that's where Chin and Min was born, and also the Solidarność or Solidarity little game. That's a game that has luck. Most of my games have a little bit of luck, but the ones I'm happiest with are the pure strategy ones. So there's 3 pure strategy games that I'm exceedingly proud of, and I have created one a decade. The first one is Santorini, and this is the only one to be produced. Here is the beautiful little tower that is created with Santorini. My hallmark as a board game designer is simplicity. There's other people that like to build up layer upon layer upon layer and come up with a very complex game. I have tried my utmost to create a complex game. With Chin and Min, I started out reading about the Tiananmen massacre. I wanted to make a serious political game, and that went down in flames. I end up with this little gem played on a Go board. This is the most difficult challenge that I have ever set myself, is designing a game with existing pieces. This took me 4 months to create in 2014, as opposed to Santorini, which took me half an hour to create the base game. The other game that I'm really very, very happy with on the pure strategy side is Calculus. This is a game that is just aesthetically beautiful, played on a tree trunk. Again, minimal rules. So that is, whenever I'm doing board game critiques of other people's games, I am always the person to be ripping up rules and just saying, you don't need that. Get to the core mechanism. What works really, really well in this game? Keep that. Make sure that that works. Make sure the whole focus of the game is that. Discard all of this other clutter that you have around that core mechanism which works. So that is my voice at the game design table, again and again. The interesting things about being a game designer is that you create a game, you put your whole life into a game, and you end up with a product. You take it to some convention and you end up playing it with people, some of whom are very good. I have spent 4 months creating my last pure strategy game, which was Chin and Min. And after that time, I took it to a convention, and I was beaten 3 consecutive times by this guy who was a pure strategy game expert. I'm pretty good at pure strategy games. This guy demolished me 3 consecutive times on my own game, playing 2 different sides. The game is asymmetric. So that's the humility of being a game designer, is that you very quickly discover that it's a separate skill set, developing a game and creating a game. 2 other things. Whenever you are receiving critiques on your game design, you need to shut up and really listen. There's too many people who are ego protective of what they've already done. This is not the time to be ego protective. You're listening, you're trying to figure out, what can I take on here? And maybe it'll take a day to sink in. You can be taking notes, but you do not want to be trying to correct the people and saying, no, I've already figured that out, and no, that doesn't work. You really want to take a step back and just take it in. The second thing is that whenever you're giving critiques, you might disagree with someone else at the table. And it is absolutely critical that you think about the game not as a single entity, but as a starting off point that can go multiple different directions. So one game, I very often said, you can go this direction towards a 10-minute quickie that's just beautiful, or you can add complexity and you can go somebody else's direction. I'm not going to be able to help you whenever you go someone else's direction and it ends up being a 2-hour game. But I think there's a gem there that can take you to a 10-minute game that's going to be highly enjoyable and fast and interesting. So don't think of your game as being just a solitary thing that's going to end up with one product at the end. You need to be playtesting in very different directions from that starting point.